Thank you for joining me, everyone, on it's a dreary morning here in Guildford. I don't know what it's like where you are, but it's a bit Ms. here. So I appreciate you turning up on a Monday morning. Really appreciate it. Hello. Oh, somebody else. Someone's husband waving. Oh.
I think you can go ahead now, Sally.
Okay. Right, lovely. Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me here at what we're doing today is an eye makeup masterclass. Mastering eye makeup techniques. This is something that we get asked about an awful lot. And when I do my makeup lessons, this is something that people just are not sure about. So hopefully today I'm going to talk a little bit. I've got quite a lot to cover today. So if you do have any questions, then please pop them into the chat box and I'll answer them at the end. Amelia will tell me the questions at the end. But we're going to be looking at prepping the eyes. We're going to be looking at choosing the right products and the right colours. I'm going to do a fairly basic, simple eye makeup look, but I'm going to talk through different eye makeups for different shaped eyes, for different coloured eyes. And basically a little bit of troubleshooting as well, and things that when things go wrong, how to sort of sort them out as well. So I hope that sounds good, and I hope you enjoy this morning's masterclass on eyes. Our eyes most definitely change as we age. Various things happen, and you might have noticed this on yourselves. Brows, that's one thing, that brows can either disappear, or they can get very wiry, or they can just fade, or you can lose the ends of your brows. They can change colour. So brows is one thing that definitely changes. The eye area itself changes. You get crepiness on the lids. The lids become thinner, so you can sort of see, I've got no eye makeup on today. You can see already there's little veins coming through, and your lids become looser. The skin on your lids definitely becomes looser. Lashes, oh goodness. I used to have really nice kind of dark and quite curled lashes, and now they are very short and they're very fair, and they're definitely not as luscious as they used to be. So for me, lashes has been quite a big change, I would say, after the menopause. Eye shapes also change. Eyes often become more hooded. A lot of ladies start with a fairly basic almond eye, and as we get older, gravity wears out and everything starts to droop a little bit. So you often get the hooded eye syndrome. Eyes also potentially look a little bit more sunken as your bone structure changes, as the elastin and collagen changes around the shape of the face. So all sorts of things happen to our eyes. And I think also a big problem as we age is seeing. I don't know if any of you really struggle with seeing to put your eye makeup on. I now absolutely have to have a ×10 magnifying mirror when I'm doing my eye makeup. And I've also got one of these little ones like this that I take away with me, and I stick, it's got sort of the sucker things on the back, and I stick it onto mirrors if I'm staying away somewhere on holiday, or I can bring it close up, and it's a really strong magnifying mirror. So for me, magnifying mirrors are really, really important. So that's sort of, there's all sorts of things that change. Okay, so just need to mention at the beginning, and I'll mention it at the end before I forget, there is an offer this week. So if you are thinking of topping up any of your makeup, actually the offer is a free powder. And powder is quite important. I will show you how I use my translucent powder. So you get a free powder if you spend £25 on Look Fabulous Forever products. You put in the code MATTE, M-A-T-T-E. So, okay. What have I already done today? I have done everything apart from my eyes. So I have already put on my, I used my SPF 50 plus, hoping that I'm actually meant to be playing tennis later. Whether I will, I do not know, because it's looking pretty miserable here. So I put my SPF on, and then I put my Smooth the Day cream on. Then I waited, and then I put on my face primer. And today I've just put on Light Look Beauty Balm in shade 0.5, and I've got my concealer in shade number 2. I've got some powder, some peach cream blusher, a little bit of bronzer, and my lips I've got on today my Roseberry lip liner all over, and tawny beige lipstick with a little bit of cinnamon kiss lip gloss, which I love. It's my favourite. A lot of ladies are asked, should you do your eye makeup before you put your foundation on? Or should you put your foundation on, then do your eye makeup? There's no wrong or right here. And I would say a lot of makeup artists, if they're doing a strong, smoky eye makeup look, will do the eyes first. And they do that so that if there's spillage from the makeup, they can then clean everything up by putting the foundation on afterwards. I tend to be a little bit old school and do it the other way round. I tend to put my base on first, then I put my eye makeup on, but I still go back. I don't put loads of concealer on at the beginning. I will go back after I've done my eyes and clean up, which I'll show you later. But it's up to you. You might be somebody that likes to put your eyes on first and then do your base. Makeup is an art form. There's no absolute rigid science. So go with what works for you. But that's what I do. I do my base first, then my eyes. I then do my blusher and lips, and then I go back and decide whether, having sort of done my eyes and everything, whether I need any more blusher and any more lipstick right at the very end. So, as I said, a good magnifying mirror for me is essential, and sitting with the light in front of me. So I've got a mirror in, my window is in front of me. So if you can do your makeup in a really good place, if you do it in your bathroom, in a sort of bad lighting in your bathroom, it's not always the best place to do makeup. So if you can find somewhere else, maybe in your bedroom, near your window, even with a windowsill, that might be a better place because you can see more. I always have cotton buds to hand, and as I said, a good mirror. I will show you these. Some ladies find these helpful. So these are flip-up glasses. So if you really struggle with eyesight, I don't know if any of you have seen these glasses. You can get them on Amazon. So they basically have one lens in them. They're called flip-up makeup glasses. Some people swear by them. Some people don't get on with them at all, but they're not very expensive. So you basically can put them on and you can get them at your own prescription, and therefore you can look through the one with your prescription to do that eye, and then you just flip them over, they're quite weird, and do the other way. And you can, if you're doing your bottom bit, even wear them upside down. I've tried this as well, so that you are basically still looking, but you've got this bit clear. Who knew? So it's worth it. If it's something that you think might help you, just type in online flip up makeup glasses. There's loads and loads online, and it just might be something that helps you. So I thought I'd show those to you just in case you've not heard of them. They are a little bit strange, but it's not expensive, so it might help. Okay, so prepping your eye. If you want your eye makeup to look good, it's really important that your eyes are hydrated. So what I would do is use a good eye cream. Look Fabulous Forever do something called the Night Revive eye cream the night before, but not too much. You don't want your eyes to become puffy, but if you put lots of cream on just before you do your eye makeup in the morning, then it can be a little bit too oily, and it can mean that things will run. So I do it the night before, put a little bit of eye cream on, not much. I just dab it onto my orbital bone, and let that sink in the night before. So keeping your eyes hydrated makes a big difference. When you start, make sure you've got absolutely no residue of oil or moisturizer on your eyelids. So I would just take either a damp cotton pad and just wipe everything over, and just make sure everything is completely dry, oil-free before starting your eye makeup. So I'm going to put my very lovely clips in, which make me look really good. I've actually not been very well. I've been quite poorly this week, been on quite strong antibiotics. And when you are ill, your eyes, I think, show it. So for me, my eyes have looked a bit sort of just not sparkly, not my normal sparkly self. So I'm actually quite excited to put some eye makeup on, because it can make such a difference. And I think a lot of us kind of lose the confidence in putting eye makeup on as we get older, because of all the things that I mentioned that have happened, and because it's hard to see. But I truly think that eye makeup, I mean, you can see me now. I've got all my other makeup on, but I still think my face looks a little bit flat and a little bit, well, I just look a bit half alive now. Maybe that's how I feel at the moment. I don't think it is, but I don't feel quite myself until I've got my eye makeup on, particularly because my lashes are quite fair. So it's all a little bit sort of one colour. Okay, so I put my eye makeup on, my eye cream on last night. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to prep my eyes with the eye prime. So this is Smooth Out Eye Prime, and it is a brilliant product. The secret to using it is not to use too much. So I'm going to take a little bit onto my hand, not that much, on my hand, and I'm using a clean concealer brush, number 4. And I'm going to put this all over my lids. So I'm going to basically get rid of all those little broken veins. And I'm going to put it onto the area that I'm going to put my eyeshadow. So to about just literally above the crease area. You can put it on with fingers, as long as your fingers are dry and oil-free. So you can sort of blend it with fingers if you want to. Let's just do this side as well. So this does 2 things. It will remove all those little veins, and it will smooth out crepiness, and then it will, well, it's 3 things really. It will stop your eyes from creasing. If you find that your eyeshadow creases throughout the day, this product is very clever at stopping that from happening. So I've not used very much, and I'm just blending it really well. If you find that if you wear eyeliner and your eyeliner moves, you can put a tiny bit. I tend to do that more with a lip brush or even a cotton bud. You can put a tiny little bit, while you've got some on your hand, of eye primer just on literally underneath the lashes. If you find that that is a problem for you, give that a go, because it can help to create a bit of a barrier just under there. So eye primer, tiny amount on dry, oil-free eyes. It's important, I think, just to let it dry, doesn't take long to let it dry, just while you fill about and get your eyeshadow out. But just let that sink in, let that dry. Okay, right. So let me get my tissue, get that off my hand. If you find that you get spillage of eyeshadow when you put your eye makeup on, then it might be that the eyeshadow that you're using is a very bitty one. Some eyeshadows have got really flaky little bits. The Look Fabulous Forever shadows are specifically designed for older eyes. So there's a massive range of matte shadows that I find they don't fall too much onto your eyes. But if you still suffer with that, there are several things you can do. When you put your eye makeup on, you can either hold a shield of a cotton pad up to your eye, or if you feel like you need 2 hands, what I sometimes do is to take a cotton ball, take some of my translucent powder, and just put a little bit on the outer edge of my eye before I start my eye makeup. And it looks a bit weird, but that will catch any spillage of eyeshadow. And then right at the end, I just dust away my my powder, and then anything that has fallen will just dust away. Okay, I've just seen there's a question for eye primer. Yes, do you put the eye primer on just the lid rather than the whole area? Yes, Bonnie, I put it where I'm putting eyeshadow. So basically all over the lid up. I tend to not put eyeshadow up here. I tend to put the Instant Bright highlight up here. So I tend not to put my eye primer right up here. I just sort of put it to about that level. Hopefully, yeah. So where I'm going to be putting my darker shadow, I make sure I have got eye primer there so that it will not crease. So it's just all over the lid and just a little bit higher than the crease. Good question. Very good question. Thank you. Right. So where was I? Yeah, so powder. I put a little bit of powder there to stop any spillage, or you can hold tissues, or you can hold a cotton pad, depending on how much you need to use your hands. So as I said, right products are really important. if you've got a lot of lines, as we get older, we get lines, they're lifelines. If you've got a lot of lines on your eyes in this area, you don't want a really, really shimmery eyeshadow. So I would say stick to the matte colours. I quite like a little bit of shimmer though, because I think a little bit of shimmer sometimes makes eyes look a bit sparkly, especially when you've been ill like I've been. So I'm going to demonstrate just today one of the creamy eyeshadow sticks, but just in the center rather than all over, to give you that idea of a little bit of shimmer as well. But if you're unsure, stick to matte shadows, which are much, much kinder to older eyes. So what colours? How do you know what colour to use when you are choosing eye shades? There are so many colours on our website. We do a huge, vast number of colours on the Look Fabulous Forever website. And it can be a little bit overwhelming as to what colour should I use. There's no absolute wrong or right. And I would say that you can do the colour quiz to see whether you are warmer or cooler, and that can help. That I think is really important for lipstick, but I would say don't be too hung up on colours for eyes. I personally quite like to have a bit of a contrast with eyes because I've got blue eyes, bluey grey eyes. What I would avoid for me is wearing an eye colour, an eyeshadow that is exactly the same blue as my blue eyes. I can wear blue, but I would choose maybe something like pewter grey or bluebell, which is not the same as my blue. But if you want to really make your iris pop out, going for a contrasting colour is always a good idea. So for me, warm browns, because I've got blue eyes, is really, makes my eyes look bluey. It's like when you are at the seaside and you see the sky and the sea and then the sand, and the sea and the sky look bluer in comparison to the warmth of the brown sand. So it's kind of getting a contrast is, I think, important. Picking up the flecks in your eyes. So what I want you to do after today's live, I want you to go and have a really good peer with a magnifying glass at your irises and look at the colour of the little flecks. It might be that I've got sort of greeny, yellowy, goldy colours, and that for me, therefore, sometimes the warm greens and the sort of the golds can look really nice because you're picking out the flecks in your iris. So contrasting colours. Brown eyes, if you've got brown eyes, greens can look lovely, golds can look lovely, peach can look nice, some of the blues can look really nice, navy can look nice with brown eyes, as can the purples. If you've got hazel eyes, sort of browny green, golds look gorgeous, greens look nice, warm browns, terracotta can look really nice with hazel eyes. Blue eyes like mine, the browns look good, gold, greys can look nice with brown eyes, the peach and some of the pinks can look quite nice with blue eyes. If you've got grey eyes, most colours look really good with grey eyes. I would say the only thing I would probably avoid if you've got grey eyes are very dull browns or some dull greens. Don't look so good with grey eyes, but they're quite versatile eyes. So don't be too hung up. I think I quite like to think, what am I wearing as well? If I'm wearing a colour, I quite like to bring a little bit of that colour of clothing. Don't worry, I'm not going to be putting lime green on my eyes today, but if I was wearing a navy, for example, I might bring a bit of navy into my eye makeup, and I will show you a trick on how to do that when I've done my warm browns. So if I forget, remind me. Okay, so the most important thing to remember about makeup in makeup entirely is that light colours bring things forward and dark colours push things back. So when you look at your eyes without any eye makeup on in the mirror, it naturally looks lighter where things are further forward. So my eyebrow here, my brow is further forward, that looks lighter. It naturally looks lighter when I blink in the centre of my lid because that's further forward. And it naturally looks darker in my socket line because that is already sunken in. So with a sort of a basic almond eye shape, or one that's almond maybe going a bit hooded, which a lot of people have, you're basically following that with your eye colours, really. So putting a little bit of sort of light medium colour all over, highlighter up here, maybe a little bit of even more light in the centre, and a darker colour in the crease or just above. So you're really following what is naturally there with light and dark with your eyeshadow. The secret with eye makeup is in the blending and in the right tools. I truly believe if you're going to use eyeshadow, it's super important to have 3 good brushes. And these are a blender brush. This is our brush number 7. A smaller brush. This is our brush number 9, which I was campaigning for years. I was very excited when this came in because it's a slightly smaller brush to put the crease colour in. And then a wedge brush, number 8. So number 7, number 9, and number 8. These 3 brushes, if you haven't got good brushes, it's worth investing in because they'll last forever if you look after them and keep them clean, and they will transform how your eye makeup looks, particularly blending. Blending. You can never blend too much. So let's get going. What I'm going to use, as I said, I'm going to use the warm brown trio today on me. So this has got a lighter, a middle tone, and a really dark colour. So I am going to actually put the light one, which is cream, all over. If I just wanted a wash of colour and I didn't want to use 3 colours, I would probably put cocoa or taupe, something like that, all over my eyelid. But today I'm going to use all 3 just to show you how you might want to use all 3. So I'm going to use my bigger brush and I'm going to take some of the cream off the palette, quite a lot onto my brush, just tap out the excess, and then I'm going to put it all over my lid. Now with cream, you can't really go wrong. It's cream, it's not scary at all. So I'm bringing it up to just above the socket line. As we get older and everything starts to become a bit hooded, I think it's good not to bring your eye makeup too low down your face because that will droop everything down. So if you want a little boundary line from the corner of your nose, corner of your eye, up to the end of your eyebrow, and think of that as your boundary. So I think I'm not going to go any lower than that with my eye makeup. And the more hooded your eye is, the more vertical you want that end boundary to be, just to keep it a fraction more upright, lifts everything. So that's the boundary line. Other than that, all over the lid. And with the base colour, put enough on. If you just put a tiny bit on, when you put a second colour on, there's not enough for it to adhere to. So don't be frightened. If you struggle, actually, if you've got quite kind of crepey eyes, you can do it like this to really pat it in so that it goes on. So you're really packing it in. So you've got enough colour. And obviously cream, you're not going to really see much of a difference. If I was to use taupe, for example, you would see that all over. That would just be a wash of colour. If you just want one colour, like taupe, I would still bring it a little bit higher than your lid. Because if you just put it on your lid and you look straight ahead, no one is going to see that colour. As we get older, you want to bring that colour, particularly if you've got a hooded eye, a little bit higher so that when you open your eye, it looks as though your socket line is actually a little bit higher than it is, so it hasn't dropped, and it will cover the hooded bit because dark colours push back. So go a little bit higher with an all-over colour than you think you need to. Okay. All right, so that's the green, that's the cream green, got green on the brain. That's the cream colour. Now, the second colour, I tend to call this it's either the socket line colour, the crease colour. I call it the number 7 colour because it's a little bit like a number 7. So this is where you want a smaller brush. So I'm going to take my brush number 9 so that I can actually control where I put it. Now, this is where most people think, I don't know where to put this darker colour, or if they put it too high, they panic because it looks too high. So there's various ways you can do this. You can have a template. You can take a cotton pad. Cotton pads are very useful for eyes. And you can just place the cotton pad literally with your eyes shut to there, to the crease line, and use it as a template to get the dark colour here. You have to, in that case, be able to, well, you look through that eye and you do that and then you come down. So that's one way of doing it. If you own eyelash curlers, bit weird, but if you own eyelash curlers, you can do it with eyelash curlers. You can hold your eyelash curlers up here and use that as a template as well. That's another thing you can do. So if you struggle knowing how to do the socket line colour, those are really good little templates to use. Or you can just try and do it by hand. So I'm going to take the second colour, which is Cocoa, the middle one, and take a little bit on, dust it off. I don't want it too strong. So I'll try it by hand to start with and see how I get on. So what I like to do is look at myself with, this is important, look at yourself with, if you're doing it by hand without a template, look at yourself straight ahead at the mirror with your eyes completely relaxed and think, okay, I want to see that colour. So if I put it in the crease, you won't see it. So I'm kind of starting it kind of about there and literally dotting it, because I've got a lot of lines here. In the old days, I could literally draw a lovely, neat line because I didn't have any, I've got sort of vertical lines on my eye, not vertical, they're that way, where I laugh a lot, I think, or where I sleep, I don't know. So basically, it's not quite as smooth there. So I need to press it in rather than trying to do it in a nice line. So that's one way of doing it. So it looks very scary and it looks very high, but it needs to be that high because when my eye is open, I've blended it, you will still see it. I then come down into the corner, just so I've got some darkness in that corner. So I could have done it like that, or I could have gone like that. Another way of doing it, just to create that shape. It's a little bit, it's not a dead flat shape, it's not totally horizontal, and it's not like that, it's sort of following that natural crease, but a little bit flatter. So looks a bit weird. Don't panic, let's do the other one. So again, I start with my eye open, so I want to see the color about here, and I'm pressing it in. This is the point when I'm doing a makeup lesson with someone, when they're doing this themselves, that they think, oh my goodness, what have I done? I look like I've got, my eye makeup is too high, it's too pointy, it looks ridiculous. Yes, it will do, but it has to be in that shape to start with until you blend it out, until you use eyeliner, mascara, brows, etc. I like to have a little one of these to hand, and you can just use that as a rubber as well. So you can just, so that is a bit weird, but hopefully you can see roughly what I've done. Now I'm going back in with my brush number 7, and this is where it's really important. I'm going to blend it. And I tend to use, what I'm doing is holding it firmly, pressing it in little short strokes, but firmly, in the same direction that I put it on, and I go out to in rather than in to out. If I go in to out, I find that my makeup comes down too low. So little short strokes, keeping the shape that you have actually so painstakingly applied in place. You don't want to just do that. There's no point doing that. If you've got the shape right to start with, you've got the height right, then just by blending out the edges, it will look much, much softer. And the darker the colour you use, the more you need to blend. So if you're going for a smoky eye look and you use charcoal, for example, really, really blend. What I like to do then is actually put a tiny bit of the really dark colour. So I like to use a tiny, tiny bit of chocolate. Chocolate is really nice, even if you are cooler in colouring. It's got a little bit, although it's a dark brown, it's got that little bit of purple in it. So I quite like, and particularly for an evening look, I will put a little bit of chocolate onto the brush, the same smaller brush, and just literally just on that outer corner. You see, I'm not bringing too much in, but just to create that little bit more definition here and here. And I'll talk about where to place eyeshadow for different eye shapes when I finish this. This is a sort of a basic eye shape, slightly hooded eye, what I'm doing here. So looks a little bit scary again, a little bit stronger, but I've kind of got my template, so I knew where to put it. And now I'm going to blend it. Blend, 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 blend. If you've really put too strong a colour on, you can always go back with this brush dipped into the cream eyeshadow just to soften it down, or even a tiny bit of powder just to go over it, just to, if you think, oh, I've gone too mad, or you can just take your little sponge and just soften everything. But hopefully you can see, still looks weird because I haven't got anything else on my eyes, but that is the sort of the shape that I've created. And there we go. Now, you notice I didn't do my brows. I'm not going to do my brows till the end. If you've got absolutely no brows, I probably would do the brows before doing my eyeshadow. Then you've got a sort of you know then where you're going to finish everything. But if you've got some brows, I quite like to do the brows at the end. Again, that's totally up to you. Some ladies love to do their brows before eyeshadow. What I find for me makes a massive difference on my eyes is to use eyeliner. Now, what I'm going to do actually before I use my eyeliner today, I'm going to just put a teeny bit of this is the creamy eyeshadow stick. So I want to put a little bit more light in the center. So I'm going to just pop it literally, you see where I've put that, just in the center. I'm doing that before the eyeliner so that I can put the eyeliner over it, but you can do it after the eyeliner, it doesn't really matter. So just a little bit, a hint of light in there. And what I'm going to do now, so it doesn't look like I've just got a blob, I'm going to still go in with my blender brush and just literally blend it slightly out. So if you can see, when I can't really see that, but when I blink and move around, there's just that little bit of light in the eye area, which makes me look a little bit more awake. This area is another area that can look very bluey and very dark. So you can either use the eyeshadow stick in that area, if you want to just create a little bit of light here, here and here, or you can use a little bit of concealer or the Instant Bright Highlight. Any one of those three products will just brighten the bluiness around the nose. Okay, so I need some eyeliner, definitely need some eyeliner and some mascara. That makes a big difference on my eyes, particularly as I'm not being very well, I feel a bit ugh. So I'm going to use our soft eyeliner in dark brown. Now, again, eyeliner on older eyes is controversial. Some makeup artists say, oh no, you shouldn't use eyeliner, you should only use shadow, you shouldn't use... I tend to agree in terms of liquid eyeliner. I think sometimes a liquid eyeliner on an older eye where we've got bumpiness can look very obvious. A soft eyeliner, however, applied in a soft sort of smudgy way, can, I think, look quite effective on an older eye. And I like to use the soft eyeliner, but I then go over it with eyeshadow. So I am going to demonstrate how I do this. Now, again, if you struggle keeping one eye open and the other eye shut, this can be a difficult thing to do. So I would say if that's your issue, pinch your eye into your nose like that to create a nice sort of soft, a nice smooth, because it's not smooth. What you don't want to do is that. You don't want to create an elongated eye because your eyeliner will come out too wide. So I'm going to go to the last lash. I am able on this eye, I can only do it on one eye, to actually shut my eye and keep this one open. So see whether you can do that. I can do it on one eye, but I can't do it on the other eye. I can do it on this one. So on this one, I'm just going to keep my eye quite natural. And I like to lift it slightly. And as you can see, I'm actually doing little strokes rather than trying to do one perfect, lovely, neat line. I find it's easier to control the pencil really, like you would a pencil right at the end, not waving it. I see some ladies trying to do their eyeliner like this. You haven't got control if you hold the eye pencil at the end. So you need to sort of be quite in control of it. And what I like to do is make it wider, lift it slightly up by the last lash, like I'm creating a bit of a wedge, and then taper it. So I take the pressure off the eyeliner as I get to the center, to the end, the center, the end. So I'm hardly touching it. So I like to sort of taper it in. You might want to bring it all the way across. That's absolutely fine. I personally, so this one, I'm pinching my eye so that it cannot open, and I've got a lovely smooth area that I don't naturally have anymore. Last lash, little short strokes, and just take that pressure off. Think to yourself, I'm actually drawing on the lashes rather than above. Then you won't get that gap, that horrible little gap that can be very, very, well, it just doesn't look very attractive. So that's the dark brown. What I'm going to do now is actually use a slightly lighter one underneath, which is something I often do. I'm going to use, if I can find it, warm taupe underneath. So it's not quite as dark. You might not want to use anything underneath, and a lot of ladies don't like to put eyeliner underneath. That's fine, absolutely fine. If you want to, I like to go again out to in so that it's wider at the outside, and then I just take the pressure off so it tapers into the eye, which has the effect of sort of elongating the eye and making it look almond shaped again. So out to in, and then I bring the bottom up to meet the top rather than the top down to meet the bottom. That will droop everything. So underneath is easier because you've got your eyes wide open and you can literally just little short strokes, so it's slightly wider. And I tend to go about halfway across. Again, that's because I don't like to close my eye up. I don't tend to put my eyeliner on my inner waterline. Some ladies like to put it on their upper tight line. Again, that's controversial as to, you know, if you've got very sensitive eyes, I probably wouldn't, but you can do. You can put the dark one just up here if you want to. I find I don't need to if I put it on the top and wear mascara, but that's something you might want to try. So, and what I'm now going to do is to get my very lovely, very special wedge brush number 8, this one. And this is where you can sort of soften everything a little bit and set it because you're putting a powder on. So I'm going to take the chocolate, which is the dark one. Make sure you haven't got too much. So I take the excess off the side of the brush. Then I use the pointy bit on the outside and I literally go over that eyeliner. You can do this really quickly. And if you don't want to use a pencil eyeliner, this is something you can just do instead of. A lot of ladies just prefer to use their eyeshadow with the wedge brush to create the effect of eyeliner. So you can do one or the other. So you can see that that's just softened it. And I now know also that it's set it a little bit because I put a powder on it. So it's not going to move. So again, outer corner to the outer edge, press it in as close to the base of the lashes. Doesn't matter if it goes on the lashes. You just don't want that gap. So it just softens everything so it doesn't look like you're wearing eyeliner really then. It just looks like your lashes are thicker at the base. And what I'm going to do is put the cocoa, the slightly lighter one, over the bottom lashes. So exactly the same technique with the pointy bit on the outside, press it in, and then just take the pressure off so it's wider disappearing. And my eyes are suddenly starting to come back when I've done this because I've got a little bit of definition again. For me, if you've seen my 5-minute video, I don't use eyeshadow. I literally use eyeliner and mascara, and suddenly my eyes come alive. So if you've only got a few minutes and you don't want to do the whole eyeshadow thing, then eyeliner and mascara can make such a big difference to your eyes. So that's kind of what that, you can see that's already looking a bit better now. Right, I need now just to put on some mascara. And I'm going to curl my lashes. These look terrifying. If you've never used eyelash curlers, they do look like torture, absolutely instruments of torture. But I can honestly say I taught a lady to use them the other day, and she said, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I've not done this for all those years." It's just a question of giving it a go and going in really slowly and closing really slowly so you don't catch your eye. And then what I like to do is blink down as I lift the curler. So I'm creating an extra curl. I won't spend quite as long doing it today, but I usually hold it for about 10 seconds and then I open. I don't know if you can see, it already has lifted those lashes up. I now suddenly look as though I've got some lashes. I love my eyelash curlers, absolutely love them. And I use them much more as I've got older. Even if you've got quite short lashes, it can make a difference. So I would recommend eyelash curlers. You can hold them under a blast of hairdryer if you want to make them a little bit warm. Do not burn yourself with them, but you can blast a hairdryer on them, make them a little bit warm, and it has the effect of a curling tong then, but you don't want them too hot. I do not want anyone burning their lashes, but that's something you can do as well. I don't usually bother, I usually just do it like this. Mascara. Mascara makes, for me, all the difference because it frames my eyes. And Look Fabulous Forever have got various mascaras. I like to use waterproof because my eyes do water and I get hay fever in the summer. So I'm using the black waterproof one. And what I like to do is to slightly blink onto and wiggle it slightly through the base of my lashes. If your eyes are quite sort of close together, you can actually turn your mascara wand that way so that you are brushing your lashes outwards, which has the effect of, again, making your eyes look a little bit more almond shaped. So you can actually, with mascara, move your eyelashes into different places. Quite clever. So I love this mascara because it's not spiky. It doesn't leave your lashes feeling like they are hard and brittle. They're still very, very sort of pliable, but it just gives really nice, and you can build up, really nice cover. You can build up as much as you want. We do it in black, brown and navy. Brown and black come in waterproof. Navy don't think comes in waterproof. Maybe it will do at some point, but not at the moment. So if you are somebody that has only ever used brown, try the black, because I think for a lot of ladies, as we get older, you can wear black. Don't be frightened. It can make quite a difference to give yourself that little bit of extra sort of framing of the eyes. So blink, blink, blink onto it, wiggle, 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 and take your time on your mascara. If you sneeze at this point, which I very often do, or you blob, or something happens, somebody talks to you and you go, oh, then what I like to do is have my cotton bud at hand and have my foundation or my Light Look Beauty Balm at hand. If you get a great big black blob here, dip your cotton bud into your foundation, your Light Look Beauty Balm, and literally do that. And it will just remove the blob without wrecking your makeup. Likewise, if you put your eyeliner on and you go too high, too thick, it looks ridiculous, it's wobbly, take your cotton bud, take your beauty balm or your foundation, a tiny little bit on there, and when you've done your eyeliner, neaten it up with your cotton bud, and it will just take off the top bit and leave the thinner bit underneath. And it's a really, really good tip for cleaning up mistakes rather than getting eye makeup remover, or as I've seen some people do like this, or they get water or they just rub and then it all just, then they have to start again. Cotton bud foundation really works, a treat. So if you want to, again, using a small mirror, top tip with mascara, when you're doing your top lashes, look down so that when you put your mascara on, your lashes are away from your eye. So you do the opposite with the mirror. When you do the top lashes, you look down, you hold the mirror down. when you do the top ones. When you do the bottom lashes, if you want to do the bottom lashes, look up, so that again, the lashes are away from your skin and you're less likely to blob. So that's another tip if you've got a mirror that you're holding. Obviously, if you're looking into a fixed mirror, then you have to kind of look straight on, but that will help with not blobbing. So if you want to do the bottom lashes, I let the top dry first, and then literally I just go like this, just put a tiny bit onto the bottom. You might not need to do the bottom lashes if you put eyeliner on, because you might already have enough definition there. But if you want to, just a little bit, not too much, or just on the outer edges. I tend not to do it like this because I find then they crisscross a little bit, but you can just literally do the tips as well. So let's see where we're going. Gosh, I'm talking too much. I'm sorry, I'm boring you here. Okay, let's talk a little bit about brows. I'm going to put a little bit of highlighter under my brow first. So I'm going to use my Instant Bright Highlight. This is my clicky pen. I call this my magic pen. I'm going to pop a little bit of that just underneath my brows. Oh, a bit too much there. And I'm going to use my concealer brush, number 4, just to blend that in. So remember I said light colours bring forward, dark colours push back. You can also use this to clean up. If you've gone too high with your dark makeup, you can just literally take it off with a fraction like that, just to bring it down. Very useful. But that will just bring forward my brow area, so that when I put my bring back brow on, it means that my brows will look more defined. So I'm going to now take my spoolie brush. This is my brush number 6, and I am going to just brush my brows. And now I'm going to take bring back brow shape. This is clever. I'm going to use the shade blonde. There's blonde, brown and grey, and it is a little paint brush with a ball bearing. So you shake it first. And again, this is something that once you get to know how to use it, you'll think, this is actually really, really simple. It's a bit scary to start with because it's a paint. It's waterproof, so it doesn't come off, which is brilliant. Obviously, you want to put it on. I like to just fill it in little feathery strokes, starting in the middle. And then you can just basically fill in any gaps, and I go upwards in the middle ones. We've got videos on brow in more detail and putting on brows. So if you need to see that in more detail, just type it in to YouTube, or I think it's probably on the website as well. But this product, once you get the hang of it, is actually so natural and so easy to use. It's just a bit scary to start with, but you can fill in any little gaps. And even if you've got absolutely no brows at all, you can create brows with this product. So I like the blonde one. I do sometimes wear the brown one as well. And then the secret to it is to go back in with the spoolie brush, this one, and soften it. And that makes all the difference. So for me, I have to add a little bit onto the outer edges of my brows because they've disappeared. I don't know where they've gone, but they've gone. They've gone somewhere. And that is basically, hopefully you can see what I've done there is it's a fairly natural look. I'm going to take my clips out because I want to talk to you now about a little tip about wearing colours. So if I was to be wearing navy, let's say, or green, not this green, say I was wearing a different green, and I wanted to have a little bit of green in my eye makeup, but I didn't want to go the whole hog of wearing the soft green trio. One thing you can do is to use this trio. This is the soft neutrals. So it's got fairly neutral colours in it. And this is something that I often do. I will use this palette. So I might use rose gold all over, cream in the centre, taupe in my socket line area. But then once I've done that, I get, let's say I'm wearing navy, I get midnight blue, and I take a little bit of the midnight blue over the taupe. So what that does is it gives me a little bit of blue, but it doesn't look obviously blue. So then it somehow tones in with what I'm wearing. And I might still wear maybe warm taupe eyeliner, but maybe put a tiny bit of the midnight blue over the top so that I've got that little bit of blue in my eye makeup without it looking obviously blue. And likewise, I might use the forest green in the same way if I'm wearing green, for example. So if you are cooler, you could do that with aubergine or with the charcoal grey. You could just put maybe a little bit of that colour on rather than going for it. And I find that that works really well. So you're sort of using the soft neutrals as I call this a base colour, base training camp. And the taupe is a really good colour for practicing that shape of the number 7 or the slightly, because it's not too dark. You can practice it. And then when you get it in the right place, you can then be a little bit bolder and put maybe the midnight blue over the top, or charcoal or something a little bit stronger, or the chocolate like I've done. So I hope that makes sense. Quick talk about different eye shapes, and then we are sort of, I think, running out of time. So I've done mine as a fairly basic almond eye. If you have got, I want you to look at your eyes really, really well. If you've got a heavy lid, so maybe a more protruding eyelid, what you don't want to do is to put a very light colour all over that lid, because that will bring it out more. So if you've got a heavier lid, you basically want a mid-tone to a darker tone all over. So maybe something like the taupe or the dark taupe all over the lid. So don't go too light here. What you definitely, if you've got a hooded eye, you definitely do not want to put a light shimmery colour on the hooded bit, because that will bring it forward even more. So with a hooded eye, again, keep this quite vertical, put your darker bit and create a darker full socket line with a matte colour here and here, and keep the lid area quite pale. If you've got a deep set eye, so your eyes are a little bit smaller, a little bit deep set, then you can balance that by actually keeping your socket line mid-tone to light, and sort of lighter to bring forward, and keep your eyeliner for a deep set line just on the outer edges, so it doesn't make your eye look too round. We've done videos on deep set eyes, and we've done videos on hooded eyes as well, you can look at. With a deep set eye, often it's best not to use really bluey colours as well, because sometimes the shadow of a deep set eye means it all looks a little bit bluey underneath. So I keep the eyes a little bit warmer in colouring. So very small eyes, keep the lighter area on the lid to bring forward. So it's the opposite of a prominent eye with a small eye. If you've got eyes that are quite close set, you don't want to put too much makeup here. You want to keep more of your makeup on the outer edge, so that when you look at someone, it makes you look as though your eyes are slightly wider apart. You're emphasizing that outer edge and keeping this area quite sort of neutral or lighter, so that the eyes are drawn to the outer edge. And with wide set eyes, if your eyes are wider on your face, then obviously the opposite. You don't want to actually have lots of dark colour on the outer edge. You want to keep it all fairly light, and keep more makeup on the inside. You can even with wide set eyes, you can bring the brows a little bit closer to the nose. It's amazing what you can do with makeup. You can completely change somebody's eye shape with eye makeup. That's why I think eye makeup, if you can master it and can play around, can make such a difference on older eyes. People think, oh, I'm just not going to bother, with eyeshadow anymore. It's just too much faff. But if you give yourself permission to try, to play, and to blend, I can't emphasize enough the whole blending thing, how that can make such a difference to eyes. So what I like to do when I've finished is I go back in with a cotton bud, really close up. See, I've made a few blobs here, and I just take my cotton bud. You can either use a little bit of concealer at this point. If I haven't used a lot of concealer before, I will then go in with a bit of concealer just on that inner bit here, and just maybe even here, a little bit of extra concealer just to hold everything in place. I might even, if my eyes run a lot and I get smudging of eyeliner, take my powder. That's where this powder is so useful. Take a little cotton bud and again, literally powder, just a tiny bit of powder to set and hold that eyeliner in place. And I find that works really, really well as well. You can also buy setting sprays if you find your eyes just run. A good setting spray, keep your eyes closed and spray over. That can also help to keep your eye makeup in place. But I think I've covered everything. Have we got any questions, Amelia?
We haven't got any questions. I think you answered the one we had.
About the eye primer?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that is the secret. Really blend well. Look at your eye shape. Think what shape have I got? Is it hooded? Is everything starting to come down? Remember that dark colours will push back and light colours will pull forward. Take a little bit of time and have a play. And if you haven't used some of the products that I've tried, give them a go, particularly eyeliner, particularly the eye primer, and particularly getting some good brushes to blend. And I think we're there on our eye makeup masterclass. I hope you all enjoyed this morning. I hope that you've got a few tips out. Somebody's husband enjoyed it. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie. So I'm feeling already, although I've been quite poorly and as I said on antibiotics for quite a long time, my eyes I think have slightly come back to life from when I first came on this morning just by putting some eyeshadow on. So I hope that you can feel the same when you put your eye makeup on. And thank you. Yes, someone's off to do their makeup now. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Don't forget the offer that we have today, 25 this week. It's all this week. You get a free powder with £25 spend if you put in the code MATTE, M-A-T-T-E. So thank you so much. Thank you.